Continuing from the previous chapter, Lin Dong successfully forced the mysterious woman out of the secret key space, obtaining the ancient key. Moreover, within that space, he advanced to the rank of a Heavenly Talisman Master, elevating his strength to be on par with a true Nirvana stage expert. In the plaza, Lin Dong's body, which had remained rigid for quite some time, finally began to relax as the invading spiritual entity was destroyed. Simultaneously, waves of astonishing spiritual energy surged from his Niwen palace, causing ripples that seemed to affect even the heavens and the earth around him. Lin Dong's spiritual power now far surpassed what it had been before, to the point where the difference was as vast as that between the creation stage and the nirvana stage. His tightly closed eyes slowly opened, and a dazzling spiritual force seemed to shoot out, almost solidifying as it pierced the hard black stone ground, creating a crack. Such spiritual power had reached an extremely formidable level. Nearby, little Yin, seeing Lin Dong awaken, finally allowed the brilliant glow emanating from his scales to subside. He affectionately nudged Lin Dong's body with his large head. Phew! Lin Dong let out a long breath of foul air, with a lingering look of surprise in his eyes. Clearly, the unexpected events earlier had given him quite a scare. If it weren't for Little Mink stepping in this time, things could have gotten quite troublesome. This guy doesn't seem to be a good person either. Little Mink reappeared on Lin Dong's shoulder, glancing at the remains left from the explosion before commenting. Lin Dong nodded. After devouring the remnant spiritual entity that had attempted to seize his body, he gained some of the memories of this powerful figure from when he was alive. Those memories confirmed that the entity wasn't a good person. However, to Lin Dong's surprise, the memories contained some unique techniques related to spiritual power, which was a stroke of unexpected fortune for him. Though Lin Dong had now stepped into the realm of a Heavenly Talisman Master, his control over spiritual power was still rather basic. The techniques and secret arts he obtained from these memories conveniently filled some of his gaps. Additionally, as he absorbed this wealth of experience related to spiritual power, Lin Dong also uncovered some information about the ancient secret repository from those memories. From the vague recollections, he learned that the ancient secret repository seemed to have been left by an extremely powerful sect from the past. The treasures within were incredibly enticing. Furthermore, the entity whose memories he inherited was not the guardian of the repository. He had obtained the ancient key by ambushing a guardian. Although he successfully obtained the key, he was heavily injured by the guardian and had to hide away to heal. However, he still couldn't escape his fate and perished, leaving the ancient key to fall into Lin Dong's hands. Moreover, there were not just one, but 4 ancient keys like the one Lin Dong had. Only by simultaneously presenting all 4 keys could the ancient secret repository be opened. I wonder who holds the other 3 keys now. Lin Dong furrowed his brows. If the ancient secret repository was truly so enticing, it would surely attract countless greedy eyes. Those from the higher dynasties would undoubtedly make moves to snatch the keys. If the news of him obtaining one of the keys spread, it could lead to significant trouble. Thinking of this, Lin Dong narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Even before becoming a Heavenly Talisman Master, he had no fear of Nirvana stage experts like Chen Mu. Now that he had successfully reached this level, if he faced Chen Mu again, he could hold his ground without relying on the blood spirit puppet. This guy turned out to be a timely gift, Lin Dong mused as he slowly processed the memories. Despite not being a good person in life, this figure was undeniably strong. Gaining his experience and memories was no less valuable to Lin Dong than acquiring a high-level creation martial art. Little Mink, thank you this time. Lin Dong turned his gaze to Little Mink and said with a gentle smile, "Stop with the pleasantries. If you want to thank me, then help me get that life and death reincarnation pill." Little Mink rolled his eyes, then swept his gaze over Lin Dong and continued. Heavenly Talisman Masters are ranked by imprints. There are 9 imprints in total, corresponding to the 9-fold nirvana. With each advancement, the small world within your Niwen palace evolves further. Once you reach the 9th imprint, there will be a dramatic transformation. By then, with a mere wave of your hand, you could shake the heavens and earth. Lin Dong shrugged, not asking too much about this supposed great transformation. Given his current state, he probably wasn't even considered a one-imprint Heavenly Talisman Master yet, and the 9th imprint was a distant goal. Sometimes, overthinking things isn't beneficial. Don't worry. Now that we have the ancient key, we will definitely go to the ancient secret repository. When the time comes, I'll do my best to snatch the life and death reincarnation pill for you, Lin Dong said with a smile. Over the years, the bond between the two had grown deeper, and even if Little Mink hadn't asked, he would still try his best to get the pill. Little Mink responded lazily, but despite his nonchalant demeanor, a subtle trace of emotion flickered in his sharp eyes. Lin Dong didn't mind Little Mink's attitude. He turned his head and glanced around the key space, then waved his hand and said, "Let's go. It's time to leave." They had been hiding here for over a month, and it was time to venture out. With Lin Dong's current strength, even if Chun Mu and the others were still guarding outside, he had the ability to make a safe retreat. Having made up his mind, Lin Dong didn't delay any further. With a thought, the ancient key in his hand emitted a bright light, enveloping his and the others' bodies. Gradually, their forms became fainter until they completely disappeared from the key space. As Lin Dong and the others vanished, the key space fell silent again, devoid of any signs of life. When the darkness before Lin Dong's eyes receded like a tide, his powerful spiritual energy instantly surged out, forming a formidable defense around him. However, the expected attack did not come, and Lin Dong breathed a sigh of relief. He then took in his surroundings. The place he appeared was not the stone hall he had imagined, but rather a solitary mountain peak. As his gaze swept around, a familiar feeling welled up inside him. Although this wasn't within the stone hall, it wasn't far from Thunder Rock Valley. From here, Lin Dong could look into the distance and see Thunder Rock Valley split among the mountains. Not bad. The key is quite a treasure, Little Mink remarked with some surprise, looking at the ancient key in Lin Dong's hand. It seems this thing, once activated, can hide in the void and begin moving. In the future, if you encounter a crisis, you could hide in the key space. As long as you don't face someone extremely formidable, they won't be able to find the key concealed in the void. Hearing this, Lin Dong was slightly astonished. He hadn't expected the ancient key in his hand to possess such a function. This meant that even in dangerous situations, he now had a means of escape. It looks like the people from Thunder Rock Valley have withdrawn, Lin Dong observed, glancing toward the area outside Thunder Rock Valley. Above the valley, thunderclouds now spread, with bolts of lightning occasionally crashing down, causing the entire valley to erupt with rumbling booms. Thunder Rock Valley was at its most violent at this time, and even someone like Chun Mu wouldn't dare linger too long. From the looks of it, most of the large contingent seemed to have retreated. This outcome made Lin Dong breathe a small sigh of relief. Although he no longer feared Chun Mu and his group after advancing to the Heavenly Talisman Master rank, being ambushed by them would still be quite troublesome. Avoiding such trouble was naturally the best. "What do you plan to do now?" Little Mink asked, glancing at the lightning-filled valley with a hint of surprise in his eyes. "We need to return to Yang City and check on Mo Ling and the others," Lin Dong mused. Mo Ling and his group had been following him since the beginning. No matter what, he needed to ensure their safety. He also felt a nagging worry. Chun Mu was clearly no saint, and the demonic rock dynasty he came from was even more ruthless. If Chun Mu couldn't find him, it was very likely he would target Mo Ling and his companions. They knew how tempting the ancient secret repository was, so they certainly wouldn't easily give up on the ancient key. At this thought, Lin Dong's fists slowly clenched, a hint of killing intent flickering in his eyes. He hoped that bastard hadn't taken that route, because if he had, he would pay dearly for it. "Let's go." Lin Dong exhaled softly, and without saying more, waved his hand and shot off. With his recent advancement to a Heavenly Talisman Master, he seemed to wield the forces of nature effortlessly. The wind formed beneath his feet, carrying him across the mountains at an astonishing speed as he headed toward the sprawling Yang City beyond the mountain range. Yang City was as bustling and lively as ever, with throngs of people moving back and forth along the streets, a testament to the city's popularity. However, newcomers couldn't help but notice a subtle shift in Yang City's atmosphere recently. Those familiar with the original power distribution in Yang City felt a twinge of complexity every time they glanced at the most imposing towers in the city center. Originally, those towers were dominated by the Lingyun dynasty and the Great Yuan dynasty. Now, these two once dominant powers of Yang City had been forced to step aside, as the towers now belonged to a much stronger owner. The demonic Rock dynasty, a true high-level dynasty, was renowned even among other high-level dynasties. Although their reputation wasn't always positive, it certainly didn't prevent others from fearing them. In this ancient battlefield, power was always the most crucial factor. Previously, Yang City's power was fairly evenly distributed. Even the Lingyun and Great Yuan dynasties, though feared to some extent, didn't command absolute terror. This semblance of balance was something many found relatively agreeable. However, this so-called balance was shattered with the arrival of the demonic Rock dynasty. When a Nirvana stage expert from their ranks stood atop one of the towers and gazed coldly over the city, his icy, domineering voice instilled fear in many. Sigh. Thinking about the current state of Yang City, some couldn't help but sigh. Faint whispers of cautious discussions began to spread. The people of the Iron Dynasty, the Great Tang Dynasty, and the Xinyan Dynasty were all captured by the demonic Rock Dynasty. It's said that Lin Dong, who was once allied with them, obtained the ancient key at Thunder Rock Valley, but has since disappeared. The methods of the demonic Rock Dynasty are truly despicable, trying to force Lin Dong out like this. But Lin Dong isn't a fool. The demonic Rock Dynasty is incredibly powerful, and even some high-level dynasties don't dare to provoke them. Does he really dare to challenge them all by himself? True, but it's Mo Tai and the others who are unlucky. With the methods of those from the demonic Rock Dynasty, if Lin Dong doesn't show up, they certainly won't let them off easily. Sigh. Yang City isn't peaceful anymore. It seems like it's time to find another place to go. As whispers filled with apprehension and fear circulated, many gazes were directed toward the tall tower in the city center. At that moment, the wide plaza in front of the tower was unusually noisy. Crowds surrounded the plaza in thick, dark layers that seemed endless. Within the gathered masses, many sympathetic eyes fell upon the plaza. In the center of the plaza stood a large iron cage. But it wasn't filled with beasts. Instead, it held people, their eyes bloodshot and faces full of resentment. At the forefront sat three figures cross-legged, Mo Tai, Tang Xian, and Lu Xian. The expressions of the three were as dark and terrifying as they could get. Their blood-red eyes were fixed on the members of the demonic Rock Dynasty outside the cage, filled with a hatred that seemed impossible to dispel. Being locked up here like animals and put on display was, to them, a fate worse than death. Outside the iron cage, several men from the demonic Rock Dynasty stood dressed in black. In the center of the plaza, a stone chair was placed, and a man sat on it, his gaze mocking and indifferent as he looked at the people inside the cage. This figure wasn't Shenmue, but rather the Nirvana expert from the demonic Rock Dynasty who had once fought Lin Dong over the Heavenly Talisman tree. His name was Li Pan, and he held a considerable position within the demonic Rock Dynasty. The fact that he had been humiliated by Lin Dong that day still weighed heavily on his mind. Initially, he planned to make Lin Dong pay once he got his hands on the key, but to his frustration, the key ended up with Lin Dong, who then disappeared without a trace. This turn of events left Li Pan feeling deeply aggrieved. Fortunately, they weren't without options. They swiftly seized control of the dynasties allied with Lin Dong. The only regret was that the three individuals who were said to have come to Yang City with Lin Dong had managed to slip away. Over the past month, Li Pan had employed numerous methods to humiliate Mo Tai and the others, attempting to lure Lin Dong out of hiding. However, the result was frustratingly disappointing. Not only did Lin Dong not show himself, but there wasn't even the slightest hint or whisper of his presence. I want to see how long you can keep hiding like a turtle in its shell. These people are your friends. If you don't come to save them, your reputation will be worthless in the future. Heh, keeping all the treasure to yourself while letting your friends suffer. People will talk behind your back for that. On the stone chair, Li Pan's eyes were cold as he sneered, murmuring to himself. After speaking, Li Pan took the hot tea handed to him by someone nearby. He narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at Emotai and the others in the iron cage, smiling faintly. Emotai, don't look so resentful. I'm not the one you should hate. It's that coward Lin Dong. You're in this predicament all thanks to him. You bastard. Don't let me get a chance, or I'll tear the flesh off your bones piece by piece. Emotai's eyes were bloodshot. He glared fiercely at Li Pan, but then suddenly gave a twisted smile, his face contorted with rage. In response, Li Pan chuckled, his laughter particularly chilling. He glanced at Emotai, then said softly, "It seems that even after a month, I haven't managed to wear down that foul temper of yours. Do I seem too kind?" As he spoke, Li Pan suddenly stood up. With a flick of his wrist, 3 daggers gleaming with cold light appeared in his hand and were swiftly hurled out. As the daggers flew out, 3 agonizing screams immediately echoed from the iron cage. The hands of 3 people behind Emotai were pierced by the daggers, and bright red blood started flowing. Emotai's eyes twitched, his fists clenched tightly. Hearing those piercing screams, his eyes seemed ready to burst. A hush fell over the crowd outside the plaza. Many people had fury burning in their eyes, clearly angered by Li Pan's viciousness. Yet, when they thought of the terrifying power of the demonic rock dynasty, their clenched fists slowly relaxed. At the edge of the plaza, Lu Yuan watched the scene with a dark expression, his fists clenched tightly, making a creaking sound. Just as he was about to say something, Ling Yun, standing beside him, grabbed him and slowly shook his head. "Don't be foolish. It's no use." Ling Yun's voice was low and powerless. The demonic rock dynasty was too strong. They simply couldn't resist. After today, I'll take my people and leave Yang City. I need to advance to the Nirvana stage. Lu Yuan's body trembled slightly. After a moment, he finally lowered his eyes, his voice hoarse. The scene before them made him fully grasp the rules of this ancient battlefield. They had appeared close to Lin Dong too, and if not for the fact that they were both quasi-nirvana experts, they might have found themselves in that iron cage as well. Ling Yun remained silent, but nodded inwardly. Only by truly reaching the nirvana stage could one have a voice in this ancient battlefield. Otherwise, what they were witnessing today could very well become their fate in the future. On the plaza, Li Pan's sinister gaze swept around. Anyone who made eye contact with him quickly averted their eyes in fear. This reaction caused a twisted smile to spread across his face. He relished this feeling. Emotai, my patience is wearing thin. Starting tomorrow, I will kill 1 person each day until Lin Dong shows himself. So, you better pray that Lin Dong doesn't continue to hide like a coward. Otherwise, this iron cage will be your final resting place. Li Pan spoke with a faint smile. Li Pan, you're nothing but a beast. Lin Dong won't show up. But trust me, when he does, your fate will be 100 times worse than ours. Emotai's previously contorted face turned strangely calm. He stared at Li Pan with a chilling calmness in his voice, sending a shiver down one's spine. Li Pan's smile slowly froze. He looked at Emotai and chuckled, but the icy killing intent creeping into his eyes made it clear he was furious. "Since you're so stubborn, let's start from today," Li Pan said with a light laugh. Then he clenched his hand, and a surge of powerful primordial energy condensed into a sharp spear in his palm. With a sudden flick of his arm, the spear tore through the air with a piercing whistle, shooting like lightning toward Emotai in the iron cage. The spear's speed was so chillingly fast, and the force it carried was enough to make even a quasi-nirvana expert like Lu Yuan feel a tremor in his heart. It was immediately clear that Li Pan intended to kill Emotai. "Bastard, just you wait. Yet, at that moment, Emotai grinned menacingly, showing no trace of fear in his eyes. Whoosh! The spear shot into the iron cage and appeared directly in front of Emotai in the blink of an eye. The sharp gust from its flight left a bloody mark on his face. But just when everyone expected blood to spray, the powerful spear abruptly came to an eerie halt. The spear froze in midair, as if some invisible and immense force had grabbed it. Then, with a loud crash, it shattered completely. Emotai, who had closed his eyes, awaiting death, suddenly opened them wide. He then saw a familiar, ghost-like figure appearing outside the iron cage, slowly emerging amidst countless shocked gazes. The noisy plaza fell into an instant silence, every gaze fixed on the figure that had appeared out of thin air. For those who knew this figure, like Lu Yuan and others, their eyes gradually widened. They had not expected Lin Dong to actually show up. Lin Dong. Inside the cage, the eyes of Emotai and the others widened suddenly. They stared at the figure, their bodies trembling slightly, their gazes filled with complex emotions. Though their current predicament was partly due to Lin Dong, none of them truly transferred their resentment onto him. From the beginning, they had intended to use Lin Dong's strength to enter Thunder Rock Valley, and Lin Dong had indeed taken them there, leading to significant gains. It was a mutually beneficial partnership. They had reaped the rewards, so it was only natural they would have to pay a price. Thus, although they felt a bit disappointed about Lin Dong's disappearance over the past month, it didn't turn into hatred. They understood that if they were in Lin Dong's position, they wouldn't dare to show themselves either. After all, the demonic rock dynasty was no ordinary foe. With their ruthless methods, Lin Dong showing himself would surely mean stepping into a death trap. It was a situation where showing up meant certain death, and no one would foolishly reveal themselves just for some acquaintances. But what shocked Emotai and the others was that Lin Dong still chose to appear in the end. It was hard to imagine the impact that slim but resolute figure had on Emotai and his companions when he emerged. The fiery emotion in the eyes of this iron-willed man revealed the turmoil in his heart. Boom! Boom! The sudden appearance of this figure also instantly drew the attention of the experts from the demonic rock dynasty. A surge of powerful primordial energy erupted as they stared at the intruder with wary and icy gazes. However, Lin Dong remained utterly unfazed by the hostile stares of these well-prepared demonic rock dynasty experts. His gaze was fixed on the iron cage before him as he slowly extended his hand, making a gripping motion in the air. Screech! As Lin Dong's hand clenched in the air, the dark iron cage began to distort. The cage was clearly made of special material, faintly glowing as it tried to resist the immense force. Yet, ultimately, with a groan of strain, it shattered completely. After casually destroying the cage, Lin Dong's gaze turned cold as he looked toward Li Pan in the center of the plaza. His voice was calm as he said, "Tell Chun Mu to get out here." From start to finish, he never gave Li Pan even a glance. This blatant disregard made Li Pan's face contort after his initial shock subsided. Risking your life for friends. How noble of you. I'm almost moved to tears by your selflessness. Li Pan's face twisted as he stared at Lin Dong with a sinister gaze and sneered. But showing such noble intentions comes with a price. Fine. Since you're here, you might as well stay. I'll prepare a special cage just for you. Lin Dong glanced at him briefly, then turned to Emotai and the others who had stood up, asking, "Are you all right?" "Brother Lin Dong, thank you," Emotai said earnestly, clasping his fist towards Lin Dong with deep gratitude in his eyes. Beside him, Tang Xian and Lu Xian also clasped their fists, their expressions complex. Lin Dong's appearance to rescue them was entirely unexpected, and they knew very well the deadly danger he would be facing. After you went missing, Mo Ling and the other two did not return to Yang City. It seems they sensed the hostility of the demonic rock dynasty and left in secret, Mo Tai continued. Hearing this, Lin Dong felt a wave of relief wash over him. As long as they hadn't fallen into the hands of the demonic rock dynasty, that was good. With their current strength, they should be able to protect themselves to some extent in this ancient battlefield. Leaving might not necessarily be a bad thing for them. Brother Lin Dong, we're already grateful that you've shown up. However, the demonic rock dynasty is no ordinary force. If a conflict breaks out later, we'll fight them. If you get a chance, leave on your own. Once you're strong enough, you can always come back to settle the score, Mo-Tai said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Lin Dong smiled and patted Mo-Tai on the shoulder. Since I've shown myself, I'll make sure you leave safely. Leave the rest to me. With that, Lin Dong slowly walked forward, his gaze sweeping around. But when he didn't see Qinmu anywhere, his brows furrowed slightly. No need to look. Senior brother Qinmu isn't in Yang City. I'm in charge here, Li Pan said with a faint smile, seemingly aware of what Lin Dong was looking for. You should be thankful that senior brother Qinmu isn't here. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the courage to stand here. I know your reliance is nothing more than that puppet of yours. No matter. Today I have time to play with your puppet. As for you, I think 4 half-step Nirvana experts should be enough to honor you, don't you think? Li Pan chuckled at Lin Dong. Behind him, 4 figures stepped forward, looking down at Lin Dong. Their auras clearly reached the half-step Nirvana level, and their strength surpassed that of Mo-Tai and the others, indicating a formidable foundation. He's yours to deal with. Li Pan turned back and sat on the stone chair again, his gaze sinister as he stared at Lin Dong, like a cat playing with a mouse. He wanted to see what tricks Lin Dong could possibly pull today. Creak. The 4 half-step Nirvana experts chuckled coldly upon hearing Li Pan's words. They clenched their fists tightly, causing a creaking sound, and then, without any hesitation, stamped their feet on the ground. Powerful primordial energy erupted, and the 4 figures shot towards Lin Dong like arrows. Seeing the 4 half-step Nirvana experts rushing towards him, a fierce glint flashed in Mo-Tai and the others' eyes. Just as they were about to intervene, Lin Dong, standing in front, calmly extended his hand and made a sweeping motion in the air. 4 crisp slaps suddenly echoed through the air, and everyone stared in shock as the 4 previously imposing half-step Nirvana experts were suddenly sent flying backward, as if struck by an invisible and unstoppable force. Each had a bright red palm print on their faces. The 4 figures crashed to the ground in a sorry state amidst the stunned silence of the crowd. Immediately, they spat out mouthfuls of blood, their auras plummeting to an extremely weakened state, clearly having suffered severe injuries. The atmosphere seemed to freeze at that moment. Whether it was Mo-Tai or Lu Yuan and the others on the outskirts, everyone's expressions were frozen in shock. After a long while, the sound of sharp intakes of breath finally broke the silence. No one had expected that the 4 half-step Nirvana experts would be sent flying with a single slap from Lin Dong, seemingly from a distance. What was even more astonishing was that they hadn't sensed even the slightest indication of Lin Dong using any primordial energy. This scene was incredibly strange. Spiritual power. Li Pan, who had just sat down on the stone chair expecting to enjoy a good show, felt his originally sinister expression gradually turn serious. He stared at Lin Dong and said slowly, emphasizing each word. While others might not have sensed it, Li Pan could detect that when Lin Dong raised his hand earlier, a powerful spiritual force, strong enough to make one feel suffocated, surged from within Lin Dong. This spiritual power was far beyond that of a mere Talisman Master. You've advanced to Heavenly Talisman Master? Li Pan's voice suddenly turned hoarse. He stared at Lin Dong with an extremely grim expression and spoke slowly. At that moment, he fully understood why Lin Dong had dared to show himself. He had been so confident before because a Heavenly Talisman Master was already comparable to a Nirvana stage expert. Li Pan's previously mocking attitude now began to sink. It seemed the situation was slipping out of his control. Heavenly Talisman Master? Li Pan's words weren't particularly concealed, and everyone around clearly heard them. Immediately, everyone's eyes narrowed sharply. Everyone present understood exactly what this level signified. It meant Lin Dong now had the strength and qualifications to truly contend with a Nirvana stage expert. In a way, he could already be considered a Nirvana stage expert. Realizing this, Mo Tai, along with Lu Yuan and the others on the outskirts, felt a slight dizziness in their minds. In just a month's absence, Lin Dong's strength had undergone a complete transformation. As they looked at the figure that wasn't particularly robust, a sense of reverence rose in everyone's hearts, a respect for power. Unknowingly, the young man who had first arrived in Yang City at the peak of the creation stage had quietly left them far behind. In this ancient battlefield, he was destined not to be ordinary.